I was attempting to get everything going for our galactic starseed report for Taurus. And unfortunately, it seems that the Mercury retrograde is still playing its fun little games with us. And unfortunately, it is kicking off the internet in our area. So I'm on my phone right now doing this live with you. And so I want to just touch on a few things. I have an entire PowerPoint prepared for our presentation today. So I am still going to go through that and I will upload that. But for this current time, let's go ahead and just share some thoughts with each other. Let me see. All messages. Awesome. Perfect. I see some hearts coming up. So much love to each and every one of you. I'm on my phone, so unfortunately it is a little bit more difficult for me to get to see who's here. But if you just want to say hello, we can definitely stay connecting in this way. And within this, this is such an incredible, powerful time right now. So I'm not surprised that, hi Sunny, so happy that you're here. I'm not surprised that the internet completely crashed and shut down. I was literally just popping it up and it took a dive. So within this is kind of understanding that this is a lot of what we are feeling right now. As we are going through the experiences of going through connections to your guides, connecting to the energies that are coming through, letting them process through, a lot of what is happening is it's really influencing our levels of consciousness, which moves through the circuitry within our body. So I'm gonna tie this in. Oh my gosh, my sister's here. Bertie, I love you so much. Oh my gosh, I am absolutely so happy to have you here. Oh my gosh, I love this. Hey, you guys get to meet my sister. And then Brendy, so happy that you are here, my dear. So much love. So with this, to understand that as the energy is increasing, it moves through our circuitry. So part of what we do experience is being able to sense and see. Sometimes we notice this through circuitry not working in the mechanical things around us. But it's also really important for us to understand that we are a bioregenesis vehicle. We are also a beautiful creation. And as part of a creation that we still exist through circuitry, through sacred mechanics, through functioning of systems. And so I'm going to dive into this with not so much our full Taurus Galactic Starseed report, because I think I would do the report a disservice if I don't use the slides. So I'll probably just record this separately and upload it when the internet gets going. So actually, let me just double check over here and see. And we're gonna play with it this way. Hi, Robin. So happy to have you here. But what I do want to share with you guys today, and please, let's definitely tap into this together, is this massive download and message from the Guardians. And one of the things that I've been really diving in with them with is really, truly that age-old quest of what is this creation that we are living in. When we really look at ascension mechanics, if we really look at our universal systems, the Cathara tree of life, if we look at even the larger Eucharistic body, which is many Cathara grids intertwined together, creating even larger ones. So universes within universes within universes. And we look at all of this. One of the things the Guardians keep bringing me back to is this message that we are our consciousness. Now, here's an introspection that I have for each and every one of you, because that might sound simple, but the truth is, who is having a conversation in your head? on a day-to-day basis. You might be going for a walk. You might be interacting with your pets. You might be working on a project or doing something, every single thing we do, a lot of times there's these dialogues that are going on within our own head. And sometimes we'll be going through scenarios or situations where we might be thinking about doing something, and we might even have a dialogue in our head of one advocate for the project and one that's saying like, oh, I don't know, that might be too hard, or oh, I don't know if I want to. I always love to come back to food because food's a really common one for a lot of individuals upon the earth, just because it's based as one of our instinctual needs within this lifetime. And so a lot of times the lower centers can really have a lot of dialogue around food. And it might be like, oh, well, I've eaten enough today, I don't want to eat anymore. And then maybe later on in the evening, there's that little voice that's like, well, it wouldn't be a big deal, or maybe just a snack, or oh, I deserve a treat. So we can know that there's different dialogues going in our own perspective of our consciousness. And so within this, the guardians then say, when you truly contemplate your I am presence, that there is that introspection of then which one is me? Who am I? And here's where it gets really, really vast. So they brought forth this beautiful practice that I want to share for you guys. And this practice is basically a way to get to tap into when we have a reaction to something. Maybe there's an emotion, maybe there's a frustration, maybe there's a sense of having a feeling that, something happened and you didn't like the way it happened. And within this, we can then begin to kind of look at that energy and go like, oh, that's interesting. I had a reaction. I felt frustrated. I felt as though I wanted them to do my idea, not their idea. I'm just giving a very vague example here. And within this, the guardian said, you can tap into whatever character that was, because you're going to know that when you are in a calm and peaceful state, you have one personality that comes forward. When you're sitting and maybe snuggling on the couch, reading a book, drinking a cup of tea, you might be one personality. Maybe when you meditate, it's a little bit more of this spiritualized or higher mind or higher self personality. Maybe when you're dealing with your partner, you might be stepping into multiple roles. Sometimes the playful, silly, childlike role, the cuddly role. Sometimes it's the I need to exert my energy so that I feel myself making myself heard or known within this relationship. Sometimes there's aspects of us stepping into the adult or the parent or the one that feels as though they're having to take care of all of the things and make sure that they're functioning. So there's that sense of taking on that role of maybe more control. Hi, Kimberly. So happy you're here, sweetie. So within this, there's an ability for us to get to see that there's different personas within. We don't deal with every single situation in our life from the very same perspective, right? And within this, the guardians then were saying this is one of the best ways to begin to understand our many multiple different reincarnations, lifetimes, and cycles. This is really cool. So within this, they say that we can take each of these and go, oh, I am the playful one, but I am also not that. So every single thought, feeling, emotion, or aspect, or character, really all of these different personas that we step into or roles we step into play are really like characters. And they say we can begin to play with it as though I am that, but I am also not that. And that when you can truly begin to say these statements within a sense that you feel yourself fully being 2 feet in, all the way in with the experience. I am that. and let's really embrace something challenging. How about when we get really frustrated, or we get in this feeling that we don't feel that others are responding or listening or taking us seriously? So there could be this vibrational energy within that starts to feel, I'm frustrated, starts to be like this character that feels unheard, unresponded to, feels as though you have to exert yourself, or whatever way that character comes through. What they're saying is embrace it and just say, I am that. Where we get to really look at our shadow aspects. What character are we playing? Sometimes it's judgmental, critical. Sometimes it's an energy that's coming through that's not in our highest vibration. And we get to say, I am that. But I am also not that. And that the more and more we play within this vibration, we begin to see that all of these are like fragments of consciousness that are flowing through us. They say that we are basically living our life on repeat, that almost every reaction and every character that we are is based on some character or some situation from the past. And so we're just reliving it over and over again. And we can kind of see this a lot of times if we get really honest. A lot of days are kind of like Groundhog's days, where we wake up in the morning and we see ourselves going through a lot of the same routines that we did the day before or even the week before. So when we get to look at this, we're going like, what is that habit? What is that ritual? What is impulsing just that behavioral state of being? And as we get to dive into this vibration, they're saying the more and more we start to unplug, the more we start to recognize that we can start to dissolve and clear out all of these characters that we've potentially played from other lifetimes, especially the ones that we're not so proud of, the ones that maybe aren't our best character that we could be, are generally residuals from other incarnational experiences. And here's where they took it the next layer deeper. Hi, Georgia. They said, when you start to embrace that, there might be that thought that goes like, oh, well, what about mind slides, superimpositions, technology targeting? What about archons within the fields embedding into our mental plane, emotional body, or the astral realm? What about all of these manipulated forces within creation? And one of the things they keep pointing out for us is to recognize that when we start to tap into that, we can say, I am that. I am that archon. I am that invasion energy. I am that reptilian energy. I am that gray energy. I am, but oh my gosh, a resistance, victimizer programming. We immediately jump into a polarity or a belief that is bad, or there's something outside of us that is keeping us from being our highest realized self. And without a doubt, they share, there is nothing that can ever keep us from that path inward to our Christed self. So within, they say, go all the way. I am that. I am that energy. I am that lower vibration. I am that. Because as we start to do that, and then you flip it and say, but I am also not that, we start to get into that Sophianic wisdom, the divine cosmic Christos Sophia, that recognizes that all was birthed within this womb. So anything within any kind of conceptual form, so we're going to go really kind of multidimensional with this. So anything within form, first of all, form. Now, we immediately think form and we're thinking earth, form, matter, matter. But don't forget, there is form on lots of planets, lots of constellations, lots of other star systems. And when we start to have individuation in, again, the use of the word conceptual form, because again, we have within even higher dimensional planes. Remember, higher dimensional planes are just other places. Usually, again, very difficult to sense, but worlds within worlds within worlds within worlds, but they are legitimate other places. But say you're connecting to Pleiadian energy, and say it's at 5th, 6th, everything's going to hold a little bit of a spectrum, but say it's holding that 4th, 5th, 6th spectrum of consciousness within there. For all intents and purposes, that's a completely other location. It's another place. And in that place, there is still form, even if it's more light, even if it's more like crystalline from our perspective. It is still conceptual form. So there are still beings on planets. It is still energies that are acting or playing out characters and themes and realms and realities. It's still planets. Even in higher dimensional planes, we recognize the planets are still playing out their cosmic bodies. So what the divine Christos Sophia was really showing is that anything that is playing within these levels of form, even if to us it seems so high dimensional, high vibrational, so pretty much anything that starts to materialize down beyond lower than the 11th dimension, when we look at it through the Catharic Tree of Life grid, it's going to be still things acting out realms, realities, dreams, and forms, and beginning to play within polarity. So each one starts to create their own rules, dreams, parameters, how those consciousness fields function, so on and so forth. Now, here's the amazing thing that they take us to next within this, is they say again within this, my notes are super sloppy. I was in this amazing meditation with this. Oh, hi Gabriel. Born on the 7th at 7. I love that. 7th letter of the alphabet. 777 on the path. I love that. I love it. So within this, we get to recognize that we have a lot of belief systems within this reality, but that once we start to move, say, down below the 12th into the planes of creation and existence, we start to now create more fractalizations into individuation of consciousness. And as that individuation begins to move down into consciousness, each incarnational cycle begins to create fragmented identities that we don't always remember, but they get held within the records or the Rachele body of the mother. They get held within. And as all of these records are held within, as we take on new incarnational cycles, many times those fragments of those experiences play out, especially if they begin to hold distortions within our field, what we begin to look at as miasma or karma. Now, karma works completely differently. And I think this would be a whole other discourse, but it works completely differently in every system. Because here's where they want to take us next. They're saying that we are our consciousness, but consciousness, again, is our frequency bands or our scalar waves of consciousness that emanated out from the one. And as we begin to move, again, as it fractalizes, it moves into different morphogenetic fields of patterns based on bodies, systems, and different experiential timelines and fields. Now, as it moves into these, it says that we can understand from a human perspective that our consciousness is very much influenced by frequencies that our field is existing in. And I'm just going to do this very lightly because, again, this could be a whole other talk. But imagine for yourself that if you were in an environment that started to have a lot of, say, interference in the wave bands around you, maybe a lot of other people, consciousness, low vibrations, technology, towers, fields, frequency directed technologies, things like this, we can know that our consciousness would start to actually become a bit disassociated. Sometimes we get foggy in our mind. Sometimes it's harder to think, harder to concentrate, harder to ground or stay in our body because our frequency fields are being inundated by other frequencies that are not harmonizing with us to stay in a pillar of connection to our Christ itself. So within this, it's also kind of another way to look at this is altitude sickness. If you were to go very high altitude very, very quickly, a lot of times we will get altitude sickness, which starts to become lightheaded, dizzy, hard to think, hard to concentrate, hard to stay within our body. This is also another thing that happens when we do substances like alcohol or different other mind-altering substances. These outward things like alcohol or marijuana or psychedelics or any of these are physical things that have frequency bands to them that when we ingest them, their frequencies begin to override our frequencies and begin to shift our levels of consciousness, right? So within this, they're saying, this is kind of a long thing to get to this one point. They're saying that within this, as we begin to acknowledge this, we are going to understand that our consciousness specifically and directly, first and foremost, as it moves down, is influenced by the solar body or the solar deity of a system. So we're in this solar system of Helios, well, Solera, there's different names for the sun, but we are in this solar system. And within this solar system, we are absolutely 100% in a karmic connection to our solar being. It is a solar rishi, a solar being that is holding guardianship and the mechanics of this solar system. But if you and I were in the Sirius star system, our consciousness would be directly linked. If we were incarnated in through that system, our consciousness would be linked to the Sirius star. So therefore, our consciousness would align to those mechanics, those gravitational fields, and those frequencies. Our thoughts, our consciousness, the way we act, the way we perceive things would be pretty much 100% different than it is here on planet Earth. If we were in the Pleiades, we would also have a completely different vibrational frequency and energy to our consciousness. The solar deity also has a huge impact on the levels of dimensions to which a consciousness spectrum can move while being incarnated within that system. So secondary to that, we imagine that we are heavily influenced by the sun. And just a thought, you might want to create a relationship with that energy because it's the closest thing to a gateway out to recognizing consciousness beyond. But let's kind of keep moving. Within the solar system, any of the planetary systems that we would be incarnated on upon this solar system, we would also be affected and influenced by it. And just because we as a human being don't think that there is sustainable atmospheres in Mars or Venus or Jupiter or Saturn, that's completely completely wrong based on we're assuming that life can only exist if it's the same kind of life that we have on Earth. So that we want to take that and toss that out and recognize that there would be different beings, different bodies, different dimensions of consciousness. And I think those of you that have really dove into a lot of the starseed wisdom would really understand that, you know, there is life on the planetary bodies of Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, Mars, all of these different types of forms, different dimensions that some of these beings exist in within. Now, within this, we would get to recognize that those beings are then also now holding a binding, or what, let's just say it in earth terms, a karmic connection to that planetary body because it's existing now within its domain. So let's take it for us. We have a connection through our first and foremost, the energy of the sun, which is the ruler of this system. And as we acknowledge the ruler of this system, then we begin to start to recognize that in our incarnational times, no matter what other systems we're having connections to in this lifetime, in this body, as who you are watching me now, you are here in an agreement with Earth Mother. So now you are bound by her physics, her gravitational rules, her matter, her matter, and the dimensional frequencies within here. Now, as our consciousness merges within here, for those of you that have read the Voyager's books or gone through some of this, there's an understanding that what do we have around Earth? We actually have this whole Van Allen belt around us that is creating a frequency fence on our consciousness. So what this fence is doing is it's actually kind of creating a cap or an encapsulation so that our thoughts completely invert into this reality, so that we think that this planet, this system, this history, our lives are all the world that's happening and all that really matter. Of all the 8 billion people on the planet, most people aren't thinking about what's going on in the solar system. What are other star systems doing? What are the guardians doing? What are some of the different things that are at play within our experience? What are the archons? How many other entities or beings are actually influencing or affecting our thoughts that are playing out in our mind? That part of this, I am that, but I am also not that practice, is starting to get to sense yourself from beyond the Van Allen belt. This is where we got to get past the astral level, and we got to get past the Van Allen belt within our consciousness and do everything, even though it takes effort. But to bring that vibrational connection, be the bridge for this consciousness, so that we can actually start to watch ourselves mindfully walking around on Earth as if we are observing ourselves from our soul star. And from our soul star, we start to get curious. Isn't it interesting that the emotions move through to react that way? That was the way the consciousness understood what they were saying or perceived what they were seeing. And then we pull back and we go, isn't that interesting? What was influencing that? And we might start to get to see fragmented selves, wounded child parts, places that we have shut off from ourselves that jump in every once in a while to try to say something. And then when they do, we get to recognize, oh, isn't that interesting? Places I have not fully integrated back into unity. We're really, in a lot of ways, going into a practice that collapses all things that we have ever held separate from self. As a divine Sophia Christos, we get to kind of embed within this energy. And so within this, as kind of we begin to integrate this energy, they say that our levels of consciousness truly are influenced primarily by the frequency bands of where you are. And that if you choose to change them, this is where it takes a bit of effort. Because they're saying in some ways, when you start to see all these other aspects of self, you could go like, oh my gosh, well, if I am that, but I'm also not that, and I am that, but I'm also not that, and I am that, but also not that, then who am I? And here's, this was one of my favorite things. Here's what they said. Which character do you want to be? They say pick. Pick which character you choose to be now. And this is so beautiful. My heart just, because this is so in alignment with that whole aspect of really truly aligning to our higher self. But in so many ways, what is higher self? Sometimes we say it and it starts to become just a word that we say like everything else. Sometimes we aspire to be that connection to the divine Christos Sophia, and sometimes we see such, a schism in being that, because to be that fully, all of this kind of ceases to be. Our whole life, keeping things, remembering to be on the computer with you at a particular time, all that disappears, right? Because when we truly become in a unity filled with the divine Christos Sophia, we become in that state like samadhi, which is bliss, which is timeless. All of this fades away. And so within that, as you be this character now, they say choose. Who do you choose to be now? And here's what they said. They said, we have such a tendency, and this is definitely how they were tying this into the Taurus Galactic Star Report. And so just to kind of know, when you get to listen to this, this will tie in, because Taurus is the energy that comes from the fire of Aries. So truly, Taurus has a very fiery energy to it, even though it has an earth element that it embeds itself within. It still has a lot of that stubbornness, that fire, that passion, that desire, that want for movement. It is an energy that has already been in the fields of infinite possibility of potential. And now Taurus is where we bind to the mother. We start to bind to matter. And the minute our consciousness binds to form, our consciousness starts to get influenced by the frequencies of that form. We are influenced by the sun, the frequencies of that form. We are influenced by the earth and the frequencies of all her many forms. And then we are influenced by our physical bioregenesis vehicle and all of the cellular Akashic records within it, from the branches of your family tree to your incarnational experiences, are a symphony of frequencies that are buzzing inside of you that play upon primarily the limiting beliefs, the insecurities, the fears, and the limitations that we hold. So when we begin to recognize, well, I am this, but I am also not this, we can start to recognize that we are playing out the vibrations of the matter form that we are in. But we can also begin to recognize that your consciousness is of the Creator. It is of the ultimate spark of the divine. Therefore, you are a creator. Therefore, you have the ability to create through the matter or the mother that you are. And who do you choose to be? Taurus, on a very low vibration, clings to matter. It needs security for matter. That's why it's very much known with money, earth, resources, the material things, having the things you love around you in life. It is the lower octave of Venus, about having our needs met. But when we remember that as a higher being, we are here to actually bring veneration, divinity, Christ consciousness to the matter, we can override all the lower stations of identity. There's an incredible being out there. I've only heard I don't know, probably less than 30 minutes of his chats, but I really I love what he has shared. I think his name is Bill Donahue. He likes to go through the Bible and present it in a completely different vibration. And within this, he has a really neat perspective that I go like, yeah, I can see that. Because this is very much the same as how we work with our chakra systems. So talking about the chakra systems, we understand that the lower three chakras, whether you look at it through Vedic cosmology, through Christianity cosmology, through any of these perspectives, we understand the lower worlds and the upper worlds. And the lower worlds truly are housed within specifically our first, second, and third chakras. They are our base instinctual needs, our animalistic instincts, and our willpower that is, when in service to the lower realms, can hold very, very low vibrations or be encased with just worlds within the material reality. They can fully and completely be 100% just focused on what's going on right here on earth, what's going on in my world, my life, my job, my relationship, my bank account. That's what the lower centers do. They also impulse us to base desires that most times are not in accordance to our higher self. So they will impulse us to maybe want to eat something that maybe our higher self would go like, well, that wouldn't be the best because it will clog up some of your systems for a while. It will dim your thinking and your consciousness for a while. But our body says, oh, but I want it. It's a treat. It tastes so good. So guess what? We succumb to our lower instinctual desires rather than our higher desires, higher mind perspective. And therefore we stay within the pleasure fields, the pleasure zones, feeling good, honestly moving into the ascension path and truly awakening the Shakti within is not a walk in the park, as you guys all know. For those of you that have gone through massive Kundalini experiences, you go like, oh yeah, no, this isn't something you just do for fun on a weekend. It's intense. It is focus. It takes effort, dedication to really truly walk the path. So when we begin to surrender, or as the Bill Donahue says, there that is what the sacrifice truly means within, or his interpretation of what it means within the biblical or Gnostic texts. To sacrifice the ram was about sacrificing the inner animalistic characteristics within. I love how he kind of depicts a couple of things within that perspective, because it's like that whole idea of taking things so literally. A lot of times, the perspective of reading something, and if you are super literal, like you take it super literal, then we would recognize that a lot of our quirks and sayings that we have in our culture would be really bad. It'd be like, oh, I love you so much, I could just gobble you up. It'd be like, oh, well, if we took that literally, that would not be good. There's so many amazing metaphors and sayings that we have that we recognize it's a metaphor. It's a saying. It doesn't mean it literally. It's a metaphor representing something. So within this is just an invitation. If any of you have heavy programming through Christianity, through fear programming, through some of these religions, he might be someone you might be interested to check out, because it might be a different way to look at some of these things to start to unravel places where frequencies locked consciousness into place, into that subservient level. So within that, that perspective then becomes awareness for us that the more we clean our lower centers and begin to open up all stations of identity, it also begins to, this is where they say to go outward first, go inward. We go inward, it actually starts to open up the other worlds to us. And we begin to now expand our consciousness, breaking free from the base desires of the matter or the mater, and then we can then become the Christ consciousness, the fully awakened Christed being within the matter form that moves the matter through higher dimensions of consciousness. And that is where the magic of I am that, but I am not that comes in. And that last statement again of who do you choose to be? Pick one. So is their answer. Pick anyone you want. Pick any character you want. But be that. Because most of us are so many different characters. I watch myself do this many times. So many different characters. And as, you know, we get to move through them, they're like, hey, if you understand that that's the experience, great. But if you truly want to walk the path, you get to really start to be mindful of them. Move them in. Find the way to be that pillar of light within. And begin to really, truly shift and change your routines, your rituals, your patterns. Because they say the way we cling to the matter is the same as we recognize that we'll hang on to a job way longer than we need to. We'll hang on to unhealthy family dynamics way longer than we need to. We'll hang on to so many things way longer than we need to. And we'll self-identify with these things. Whereas they said, literally, if you are in a reality that you don't love your job, you feel undervalued by your family, you feel as though you are not understood by those around you, they're saying, then why do you stay within all of that? What binds you? Go into meditation to ask yourself, why am I sticking in this particular dream? Why am I choosing these arrays of characters that keep me within this limitation? Who do I choose to be? And if I choose to be that, what would change in my reality now? And from that, they're saying it would be like picking yourself up and literally pulling yourself out of the life that you're in right now. And literally, what do you want to create? Most people, if you ask them, what do you want to manifest? What do you want to create? They won't even know what to answer. I hope for all of you that if I was to ask you that question, that you could go on a rampage of pages of, oh, this is what I want to manifest, and this is who I choose to be, and this is how I want to manifest and create my reality. Let yourself break outside the realms. And the last thing, and this will be a little bit in the Taurus report when I do post this, is to also get to understand there is a lot of awareness for us of that photon belt ring around the Pleiades, and that we understand that the Alcyone sun is in that central part of that photon ring, and that it rotates on a particular axis, whereas we rotate kind of on a horizontal plane through it. It's kind of a neat way for us to even kind of see sometimes how, if you look in the Keylontic works and you see the Cathara grids, they plug into each other. So one will be this way and another will be this way. And if you actually look at the photonic belt, you'll actually get to see a slight visualization of realities kind of plugging in. It's not exact, but it's just something for the mind to play with, okay? Now, within this, as we understand these cycles that move through, we understand that there are different times where our sun, who is said to be actually one of the Pleiadian suns, it's actually meant to be within the Pleiades, but it is part of that cataclysm that it got thrown out. So here we are in the solar system, but there are times when it actually merges back in within a rotation through that photonic belt. And that, when we talk about, oh, the photons are increasing, or the light rays are increasing, or, oh, this is why our consciousness is expanding. I just wanted to plant that perspective for you to maybe meditate on, to get to see that as our sun moves more in alignment to its true alignment within the Pleiades, that there is a vibrational energy that begins to accelerate that photonic energy, that photon belt energy into our solar deity. And as we connect to it, we are getting the frequencies amplified within. If we are not clean enough in our consciousness, it will create frequency agitations, distortions, and inabilities to stay at levels of focus. When we begin to separate and to clear out or to actually integrate all of our fragmented selves, you become clearer and clearer on your I am, and therefore from your higher Christ self. You ride these waves into the new vibrational energies that we are moving at this time through these yuga cycles. So with so much love, thank you guys for writing with me on this. I really apologize that the internet wasn't working, but maybe this transmission just needed its own energy all by itself. I will be just posting the Taurus report, Galactic Star Report. I'm just going to be posting it as a video. I'll just record it here. And I wanted to just say thank you again, you guys, so much for being here. Ruby, so much love. I love you so much. And oh, you're saying so much love to all the beautiful angels. Hello from Arizona. I love that. Indigo Jamie. Oh, thank you, Jamie, for posting. Arizona is a very dear place within my heart. I must have some energy with the grid lines there because it always draws me back. So actually looking forward to maybe having a retreat there soon. I started manifesting a girl, but after that, a block. What can I do now? Agam Kumar, Madame July. You know what, I will add that to the Q&A, just so that I have that, just because it's a little divergent from this particular video today. Greetings from Austria. Hello. Hello. This is why I love the human design terminology of it being an experiment. Yes, I know. I absolutely, I'm so grateful for all of the different gifts, like the human design, the gene keys, are multiple different formats of the astrology that we have to use. And truly, just to put this as a blanket, is my absolute gratitude to the CDT plates, a lot of the CDT plate wisdom that has come through, and the multiple different beings that have helped to bring that information through. Radiant Sunday. Hello, sweetheart. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody again. Thank you, Robin, Sunny, Radiant Sunday, Sunny. Thank you. I love you guys. And sorry, the screen is super small. I'm sure you see me squinting. I love you guys so very much. Thank you so much for letting me share this transmission with you. And I will see you at the Taurus Galactic Star Report when I post that video. I love you guys. Have such a beautiful day.